Every shot now leaves a footprint. On a battlefield, urbanized by sensors, surprise is rented by the second. Tonight, the bait has rotors. A Mi-24 roars low, loud, and familiar. The airframe is old but wired for today, with basic glass in the cockpit and 70mm rockets on the wings. It drags the net awake, pulls radios out of sleep, and marks a target without firing. Then the real blade arrives from the edges. Cheap FPV drones that cut in fast. Sensor to decision to strike happens in heartbeats, priced in hundreds, not millions. Anything that blinks or shoots back late pays. The goal is simple. Make a gun reveal itself, then end it before the next radar sweep. If it works, armor and heavy weapons under the low sky turn into liabilities. If it fails, the Mi-24 pays the bill. In the next minutes, we break down the platform, the bait play, the kill chain, the Russian shield, and what this means for the next phase. Mi-24 is a heavy attack transport helicopter that fires rockets, carries troops, and gives low-altitude cover, and Ukraine still fields it widely while standardizing weapons for steady Western resupply. The airframe is twin-engine and armored, with a two-person crew up front and space for up to 8 soldiers in the cabin, so one platform can lift a team and support it on the same run. The cockpit sits in an armored tub that resists small arms fire, and critical systems are split on both sides of the fuselage, which keeps the helicopter flyable after light damage. Top speed is roughly 200 miles per hour. Combat radius sits around 150 to 170 miles depending on load and profile. And service ceiling is near 13,000 feet, so the machine can sprint, dip, and clear low ridgelines when needed. Stub wings carry multiple pylons, and a typical war load is over 1 ton, which lets crews mix rockets, gun pods, and sometimes anti-armor missiles when the mission requires it. For area fire, crews mount B-8 V-20 pods that take 20 rounds of 80mm S-8 per pod, or M261 pods that hold 19 rounds of 70mm Hydra each, and the choice depends on stocks and target type. S-8 brings heavier impact and a wide fragment pattern, while Hydra offers lighter recoil and smoother logistics with Western supply lines, so switching pods is a practical way to keep sorties flowing. Crews often use ripple fire, because a fast ladder of rockets lays a curtain of fragments and heat, and that curtain makes gunners duck, sensors shake, and optics bloom at the worst moment. The gun fit varies by airframe, since some carry a 12.7mm nose gun while others mount a fixed cannon on the right side, yet the goal is the same: short bursts to cut light vehicles and suppress crews near trenches. Fuel planning matters on every task, since low-level flight burns more per mile, so a clean loadout with 2 rocket pods and light gun ammo is common for short, sharp missions near the line. When the mission is lift and cover, the cabin takes a squad with minimal gear, the pylons carry 2 rocket pods and a gun, and the pilot aims to land once, unload fast, and leave a smoke screen on the way out. When the mission is pure suppression, the cabin stays empty, extra rockets go on the wings, and the crew flies a shallow dive to get the salvo on target and then brakes hard to the safe side. Standardizing to Hydra 70 on some birds also opens future options, because guidance kits exist for that rocket class, even if not used now, and that leaves room for smarter shots if stocks allow. Numbers tell the logic clearly, since one helicopter with 2 pods can deliver 38 to 40 rockets in a few seconds, and that rate of fire can freeze a lane long enough for follow-on moves. The point is simple yet powerful. This old machine still gives Ukraine a mobile, armored launcher that can shape the first seconds of a fight, and it can do so with munitions that allies can refill. From that base, the next step is how low-altitude exposure becomes deliberate bait to make the enemy reveal a firing point. In several operations, the Mi-24 flies very low on purpose and invites a shot, because a controlled risk can force Russia's short-range air defenses to reveal themselves. The helicopter shows a quick profile, then drops away, and that short window makes defenders switch on. Gunners fire, radios light up, and sensors start to talk, so the act of defending turns into a trail of clues. Open reporting and field footage have shown this pattern in the low sky, where small drones and cameras make every flash and plume visible. The tactic depends on profile, timing, and terrain, not on heroics, and the crew plans each step before liftoff. Pilots hug the ground, mask behind trees and buildings, and use a brief pop-up near a ridge or road cut because a clean backdrop helps spot the return fire. Exposure stays short, often just a few seconds, while a pre-planned egress keeps the route safe, and that matters more than raw speed. Flares are not spammed. They are timed, since random bursts waste decoys and teach the wrong lesson. A quick offset and a power change reduce the heat trail, and that small change can cut the seeker's lock. The goal is not to win a duel in the first pass, but to make a sight talk, then step out before the second look. Russia's forward shield relies heavily on the 9K38 Igla family, which sets the tone for the near-front fight. Igla is a shoulder-fired missile with a cooled infrared seeker, an effective reach of roughly 5 kilometers and a ceiling near 3.5 kilometers, while top speed sits around Mach 1.9. A two-person team carries the tubes, the battery pack, and spare rounds, and small groups spread along trenches, road junctions, and near gun lines. Teams usually work by voice, handheld radio, or local command posts, and that simple network lets multiple shooters cover lanes that tanks and trucks must cross. The system is light, fast to set up, and hard to see until it fires, which is why it anchors many frontline positions. Igla has real strengths, yet it also carries tells that modern sensors can read. The missile leaves a hot launch plume and a short smoke column, and both stand out to thermal cameras and long lenses even at range. Aiming units must point and hold for a moment to get a lock, so a pop-up and break profile can spoil that window, and quick masking makes the seeker hunt in clutter. Radio calls spike after a launch because leaders ask for damage reports or fresh angles, and that extra traffic helps triangulate the firing point. Later versions resist simple flares better than early models, so bait flights adjust angle, background, and timing rather than counting on decoys alone. This is why the Mi-24 bait run is scripted, measured, and backed by other eyes, not flown on instinct. The crew chooses a lane that gives a clean horizon behind the helicopter, since a busy tree line hides too much return fire, and they plan an exit that avoids a repeat over the same spot. They set hard limits on time exposed, altitude, and turn points, and those limits hold even when the first burst misses, because chasing a second try invites a missile from a new angle. If a launcher fires, observers mark the flash, the smoke drift, and the radio spike, and those three cues together beat any single clue. A second pop-up is rare, since one look is enough to make defenders commit, and staying longer turns bait into a target. When this works, a low-cost missile team trades concealment for a short shot, and that trade gives away the lane they were protecting. When it fails, the helicopter meets a ready gunner and a clean sky, and then only discipline and geometry save the day. Either way, the exchange is not random. It is a deliberate test that measures reaction time, crew training, and the density of sensors on both sides. From here, the next step is clear. Turn those launch clues into precise coordinates, then act before the defender resets. Ukraine fields tens of thousands of FPV drones with 1 to 2 kilogram warheads, and they fly very low to dodge radar while striking small, valuable targets. These airframes start from commercial kits, then get stronger motors, better cameras, and quick swap batteries, so units can build, fix, and launch at scale. The effect is reach, because frontline teams can shape fights out to roughly 10 to 14 kilometers, and that pushes danger far beyond trench lines. Costs stay low while damage stays high, so commanders can accept losses, rotate pilots, and still keep pressure across the map. The method is simple but fast, since each drone gets a route, a queue, and a job. One hits a gun, another cuts a truck, a third aims for ammo or a radar head, and timing turns 3 small hits into one big result. Production is spread across workshops and volunteer hubs, and parts flow through many channels, which reduces downtime and keeps shelves stocked. Reports from major outlets and think tanks describe multi-role drones and early swarm tests with onboard assistance, so guidance, deconfliction, and target handoff improve over time. The headline is clear: cheap flyers have become a backbone near the front. Speed matters as much as numbers, because a short queue-to-hit window denies the defender a second look. Operators rehearse lanes, memorize landmarks, and practice last-second climbs, while teams pre-position batteries and spares to cut the gap between sorties. Gunners who expose a muzzle flash, a thermal plume, or a radio burst can face a strike within minutes, and that threat changes behavior across whole sectors. Bridges, depots, and repair sites must hide, move, or accept steady attrition, and none of those choices are free. There are limits, and electronic warfare sets many of them. Heavy jamming breaks video links, hills block signals, winds steal range, and clutter spoils the final dive, so results vary by unit and weather. Veterans who track outcomes talk about success ratios near 40% in tough zones, which sounds modest, yet the math still favors the attacker when a cheap drone trades for a costly asset. To adapt, crews mix analog control with frequency hopping, use inertial memory for the last 100 meters, and preload waypoints that need no link at all. Relays on masts extend control bubbles, decoys soak noise, and quick waves help one hit open the door for the next. The tactical effect is larger than any single blast. Russian teams add cages, nets, and screens, then pay in weight, fuel, and speed, while columns spread out and pause more often, which slows plans and burns time. That drag opens windows for artillery, helicopters, and ground raids, and each window starts with a small quad that costs less than a tire on a tank. Next, we test these gains against Russia's layered air defense and EW shield, and we look for the cracks that still matter. When an Igla fires, the heat plume and the radio burst light up the map, and a flat command chain pushes fresh coordinates straight to the nearest FPV crew, so the detect-to-destroy cycle shrinks to a few minutes. Sensors do the first lift, and they work as a team. Thermal cameras catch the hot column, RF sniffers log the call traffic, and spotters note muzzle flash or smoke drift. Then 2 or 3 queues are cross-checked to cut mistakes. Grids get a confidence score, a timestamp, and a short note such as "tree line east of culvert," and the picture updates on tablets at small posts along the front. Nobody waits for a perfect photo, because speed beats polish in this layer of the fight. The command model is flatter, and that matters more than big hardware. Edge cells hold clear rules for when they can act, so they do not climb a long ladder for approval. Playbooks define no-strike areas, friendly lanes, and standard target sets, while a simple green-yellow-red code sets who moves first. Analysts have described this war as dispersed control with concentrated effects, and that frame matches what we see. Small teams decide fast, then many small hits add up. Once a grid is green, execution looks like clockwork because tasks are pre-split. One operator arms an FPV, another checks the route, and a third sets a relay if the terrain is bad, so launch happens while the enemy is still shifting. Waypoints guide most of the flight, and manual control returns in the last seconds, while inertial memory, or analog links, cover the blind spots if jamming is heavy. Waves are short and focused, and the first drone usually aims for the gun mount or aiming unit, since disabling the eye changes the whole lane. A typical threat is simple, yet it lands hard. An Igla team fires from a hedgerow, the plume goes up, and radios spike as a section leader asks for results. Observers tag the spot and push a grid to an FPV cell 3 kilometers away, so 2 drones lift with batteries already warm. The lead drone dives on the launcher or tripod, the wingman hunts the ammo crate or the power pack, and a reserve waits to cut a nearby antenna if traffic stays hot. Recent frontline footage has shown air defense assets in Crimea and in the rear hit this way, and the short prep time is the common thread. There are brakes on this system, and they are strict. False positives are screened by 2Q rules, geofences block friendly zones, and if weather or hills break the link, artillery or loitering fire takes the task instead. The chain is built to move fast without losing discipline, and that balance is the real edge. Next, we walk one full contact, from the first cue to the last impact, to test how this chain holds under pressure. After fast FPV counterstrikes hit several teams, caution spread across short-range air defense posts, and many units tightened firing conditions, which weakened the low-altitude shield and opened space for Ukrainian helicopters and drones. Leaders raised thresholds for taking a shot, since a launch plume, a radio call, or a thermal spike can draw a return hit within minutes, and no crew wants to become the beacon. Some sectors now require sensor confirmation or command clearance before a trigger pull, and that shift moves posts from hunt and engage to hide and survive, so early shots fall and fleeting targets slip away. Emission control follows the same logic, because silence feels safer than speed. Teams keep radios quiet, cut thermal signatures, and lean on optics, while launchers stay cold until stricter rules are met. Positions relocate more often, decoys sit near likely hides, and crews dig deeper scrapes to mask the first seconds after a shot, yet movement and concealment both cost time. Coverage gaps grow when posts pull back from exposed ridges or tree lines, and low flyers thread those gaps. These adjustments carry a price that shows up on the clock. Reaction time stretches when gunners wait for a second cue or a voice approval, and a short window closes while controllers check maps and deconflict lanes. Columns exploit those pauses with timed dashes, while FPV teams plan launches to meet the moment when defenders hesitate or relocate. Attack rates rise when the defender trades initiative for safety, and even a small delay can flip the exchange at treetop level. Standard operating procedures shift, but the pattern is not uniform. Some formations stay aggressive where terrain helps them, while others enforce shoot only on order in busy sectors to protect scarce launchers. Checklists now stress 2Q identification, geofenced no-fire zones, and immediate shoot and scoot after any launch. Cold tubes, short cable remote fire, and dummy antennas help, yet each fix adds weight, labor, or delay, and those costs add up. In plain terms, fear of being found changes behavior before doctrine, which hands tempo to the side that moves faster. Next, we show how Ukraine turns those cautious moments into repeatable kill chains, and how Russia tries to reset the clock. The bottom line is simple. A loud helicopter draws the eye, yet a cheap drone closes the case, and the real power sits in a fast chain that turns a flash into a strike within minutes. Mi-24 now works as smart bait because it tempts a launch, then leaves the scene while sensors, spotters, and RF tools fix a grid that an FPV can fly. Accuracy still matters, but survival rules the low sky, since the fear of instant payback changes more shots than a clean miss ever could. This is why doctrine shifts from big platforms to fast loops, and why cost beats prestige when small teams decide in real time. The race is not only about rockets or missiles, it is about sensors, electronic warfare, simple command rules, and steady drone production, since those parts compress time and multiply force. Distributed control lets edge crews act without delay, while cheap airframes spread pressure across a wide map, and that pressure bends air defense efficiency down. Russia can answer with stronger jamming, better decoys, and tighter discipline, yet each fixes taxes, speed, and reach. Ukraine can scale pilots, batteries, and training, and each gain shortens the loop again. So the next phase belongs to whoever closes the chain faster and keeps it closed under fire. If you want deeper battlefield breakdowns, subscribe to Military Force.